afternoon, everyone, and welcome to one of RVN's newer TV shows, What the Why, with Barbara Ann. Our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured out their purpose in life. And if you want to make a change, this show is for you. Whether you're looking for something different in your life or career, maybe you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, all of our guests have something in common with you. They all felt that way at some point in their lives too. So whether you sought us out or found us by accident, and if you've watched before, you know I say all the time, there is no such thing as accident. Thank you for joining us. Our guest today is Ngozi Bell. She is the 2022 Global AI as an Artificial Intelligence Ambassador for Swiss Cognitive, the world-leading artificial intelligence network. She's also the co-founder of Horizons Global. She's a professional speaker for entities such as Women in Technology International, TEDx, and Myrna LLC. Ngozi is a private equity leader in STEM, agriculture, and pharmaceutical and health innovations, a former Small Business Administration regional advocate. Ngozi is a Nigerian-born engineer who combines her vast knowledge of physics and engineering with venture capital and private equity ventures to encourage innovation, skilled in business development, as well as integrated circuits, wireless technologies, telecommunications, and venture capital. She has managed over $1 billion in revenue at different points in time. Ngozi is also a global speaker and writer on diverse topics, ranging from core technology and women to entrepreneurship. She regularly contributes to Voice of America Africa, media forums on technology and non-technology platforms. She's worked in Asia, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, North America. You hold degrees from FAMU FSU College of Engineering, the University of Port Harcourt, Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, and Queens College, Lagos. Without further ado, please welcome Ngozi Bell.
Thank you so much, Barbara. That was so much fun just listening to that.
I know.
Haven't we all worked in Asia and the US and Africa and everywhere? Just teasing.
Virtually, but no, physically. Definitely some of those places are on my list of places to visit, but I have not worked there physically. So thank you so much for making the trip into the studio to talk with the audience today and share your journey.
Absolutely.
One of the first questions that we ask every guest that comes in is, you know, when you were little, I don't know that you really imagined yourself doing all of these amazing international things. Mm-hmm. So what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh man, if I tell you, you would laugh. So my first foray into career thinking, I wanted to be a musician.
Not gonna laugh?
Well, I couldn't sing.
Okay, you couldn't sing.
I could sing. At least I thought I could sing,
okay.
But most of my cousins said I couldn't sing.
Okay.
So that was interesting. I played the accordion and I learned to play a little bit of the recorder and just a little bit of piano. But the singing part, my cousins were like, yeah, you need a different career. So that was my first, thought about what I wanted to be when I grew up. And then after that, I come from, I'm Nigerian, right? Mm-hmm. So I was born and bred, and I came here as an adult. And in Nigeria, my parents, I came from a very academic background. So my mom is a scientist, my father was more into politics, but business administration, just a history buff. I don't think there's any topic on the planet that he doesn't know. And there's almost no country he hasn't visited. So he has a lot of information and all that. But my mom was a scientist. She was a serious scientist. She authored some of the textbooks, chemistry textbooks that we used. She taught at universities and stuff, and she was an administrator. But I grew up in a household that even though my parents, when I finally got to understand them, were super smart, there was never enough pressure. My mom, for example, is regarded as almost like a genius mind, but she never pressurized us about classes, about studies, about stuff like that. So I was not the most, competitive student. I was not constantly concerned about my academics or worried about that. But in Nigeria, though, when you come from those homes, you typically want to go after the things like engineering, law, and medicine, and all that.
Very professional
driven.
driven.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I thought I wanted to be a doctor. That was how I kind of started off, and I didn't make the cutoff. So in Nigeria, you take this exam, and there's a cutoff for medicine. So I didn't make that cutoff. So I had two choices. One choice was to, go and do what is called A levels, which is after high school, and we say secondary school, which is a combination of middle school and high school. So after that, you could go and do A levels, which is the time just before going to university.
Oh.
Or you could go straight to university because based on your scores, you got admitted into something else, even though it wasn't medicine. So I got into architecture, and I got into a host of other places, and one of it was physics. And my mother said, go study physics. She said, this will make a difference for you as a woman in STEM. And I'm so glad I did.
Oh, that is so amazing.
Yeah. So that's how my career kind of started off.
Because really it's only been within the recent couple decades that girls were even encouraged to pursue math, or even believed to be capable of doing math.
Yep.
Kudos to you. You have great parents.
Oh, thank you.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
So they encouraged you to pursue physics. So for our audience out there who's watching, so you pursue physics. How does that take you on this path that leads you around the world, to the United States, to the SBA, Office of Advocacy, of all things?
Yep. So physics was honestly what and I'd say the same thing to young people. There's nothing like getting a good foundation. Physics opened doors for me, and I told you that I was not the most competitive student. I was not constantly saying, oh, I'm trying to make an A, I wanted to do this and all that. In fact, I had people in my class who would make a 95 and be upset because they didn't make 100. I was not that child. I'm not going to lie. I was not that person. I mean, I did well. I had good grades, but I was not that person.
I laugh because I was.
Okay.
I was that kid.
No,
Until I got to high school, I was that kid.
It became different. No, I was not that child. So I went, but what physics did is when I went to university and I studied physics, because as a woman, there were few of us in the class, we had to compete, right? And the guys were not going to give you a pass. So you learn to be competitive and still have a balance of, trying to still kind of enjoy yourself. So I try to create that balance. But when I came to the US, when it came to, so what are you going to do with physics? You could either go on and do a PhD or, you did something else. So I was blessed that my parents allowed me to come to the US. So when I came to the US, I decided, okay, what am I going to do with this? So I decided on engineering. But physics was that foundation. Because I had done physics, engineering wasn't so hard, to go in and do engineering. And it opened up amazing doors because, when you say you studied physics, people sort of think you're smart. It becomes a game changer. It opens up doors. It affords you the ability to enter certain rooms. Okay. And that's what I tell young people is your foundation. It doesn't have to be physics. You have to really care about your foundation because your foundation can become the difference maker in the things that you do. So so physics brought me here. Physics kept me here. Physics opened up doors. Physics led me to engineering. Physics led me to Bell Labs, to AT&T Microelectronics, which at the point was one of the most prestigious places to be in as an engineer. So, and then physics, of course, just gave me the confidence in versatility. Because when I got here and in school, they had this thing called the cheat sheet for exams. And, kids will have all these formulas and stuff like that on this cheat sheet. And I would come in with no formula because I grew up in a place where you had to learn the first principles, you had to memorize stuff, you had to learn the fundamentals. But because of physics, I felt confident enough to do that. So that's kind of how my journey started. It was all due to physics.
Wow. So you're working in some of the most important technology companies in the country, and you start getting involved in other projects that also lift other people up, and so that it's not just you that's benefiting. Your tide is lifting all boats. So can you talk a little bit about some of those different initiatives that you started getting involved in, and then ultimately leading to an appointment under the Obama presidential administration?
Absolutely. I'll tell it in a story because I think you'll appreciate that. So as a foreigner, when you come into America, you're almost forced to take sides, right? Because you learn about these people, and then you learn about those people, and you're told, oh, because you're doing this, you're special, so don't be like those people, right? Don't associate with those people. You're part of this crowd and all that kind of stuff. Until later, you find out you're really, in some people's mind, like those people. America is a very interesting ecosystem, because I'd been in other countries. I'd been in the UK and in some other countries. But coming to America, I came with this extreme excitement and hope, because on TV, everybody was roller skating. America was like California, and people were in the sun just having fun. So I thought this was just a country where everybody just loved everyone and everything was perfect. So coming in, I learned, some very different things. But what that did for me in my career was, as a Black woman, I found that, as I went, my career began to take off and I began to do well, and I had amazing sponsors, amazing mentors. I will always be grateful to them. And ironically, they were all white males who took me under their wings and really, really enabled my career and were good to me. But I realized I was many times the only person, a woman of color, that was involved. And one of the things I learned was that you could do one of two things. You could allow your career take off and sort of be so career focused that you have no responsibility to people. And initially, I was on that track, because that's kind of how things unfold when you get opportunities. And something happened when I looked back. Some things started happening, and you started seeing issues, and you found that many times people of color would not have their tribe, as people would say, or their cohort, or the people who would they could confide in and help them when issues came around. And I decided that that's because from the get-go, we're not forging teams of support for ourselves. So I made a decision that I was going to go out and help people who looked like me. I was going to try and help bring them in. I was going to try and enable them. I was going to try and make sure that they had the same opportunities that I did. And I did that. I started looking for resumes, sending them to our CEO, sending them to our vice president, getting myself in there. And it cost me something. Because what happens is, when you start doing that, people start getting worried about you. Your trajectory starts to slow down, because you're no longer part of that total trust sphere. You're beginning to bring things that not everybody is happy with.
You're changing dynamics.
Exactly, very good. You're changing dynamics. And so I experienced that big time. And so it affected my career, but I'm so glad I did that, because I'm not taking credit for all the people that did come into certain companies that I was with, but I think I contributed to bringing in a lot of young Black male females into technological spaces or into companies that I was a part of, and helped build their career. Help mentor them, help build their career, help show them that, look, this is for all of us, right? And it's been just incredibly rewarding. And it was because of that, as my career kind of stayed changing and I started going through, some of the rigmaroles of career, that I started seeing the world from a very different place, right? That yes, we're technical, right? Because I worked deep in technology initially, but as you get into management, you become more people-oriented. Because management means you have to care about how employees feel. You have to care about how the company does. Profit and loss matters. The vision of the company matters. Its mission matters. But at the core of that is people matter. And
so hold that thought, because we have to take a break, and we're going to come right back after this commercial break with Ngozi Bell.
Okay, absolutely.
Welcome back to What to Why. What to Why? What the Why? And today's guest, Ngozi Bell. And before the break, we were talking about, the fact that lifting others is rewarding.
Yes.
And it does also have its trade-offs.
Yes. I mean, Barbara, lifting others is, in a way, the ultimate sacrifice. And, I'm not trying to say it's the biggest sacrifice, but there's something about it that is immediate. Yeah. There's something about it that is, it's necessary, but it also carries this weight because you give something up. So you have to kind of make a decision. Now, sometimes we fall into it, right? Something happens and you get lucky, you fall into it, and then from there you learn. But many times, especially in America, and especially for people of color, you have to be deliberate about it because you find out that it's going to cost you something. So at some point, you have to make that decision to either continue or not. So, but in terms of the reward, it's incredible. It increases your world. Yep. It increases your vision about the world. It opens up for you thoughts that you never thought you had the ability to have. So no, I am where I should be. Of course, there are places I want to go, but very, very happy to be doing some of what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I mean, and you are involved in multiple ventures, and as I mentioned, the work that you done, and have continued to do led to an appointment under the Obama administration as the regional advocate of what's known as Region 3, which means you were responsible for advocating on behalf of small businesses within all realms of government in Pennsylvania and Delaware and Maryland and West Virginia and DC, which is a vast area, and you served through the term. At times when others don't necessarily hang in there because it's tough work. So when you took on that role, what was something you wish you had known in advance?
I can tell you many things, but I'll tell you one thing. So I came from corporate America, and I had also started enjoying leadership. I'd gone into venture capital. I had these visions of building these companies and helping all these people from that perspective, but using my knowledge, my education, and also the ecosystem around us to make these investments. So it was just a very exciting time, and I was also very used to making decisions. And making them, and they stick, and you move on. And I came into government, and we came in with this whole thing like, you're going to be working for President Obama, with this almost expectations like President Obama will give you your assignment, you go do it, and you report back to him. I kid you not. It's funny, but many people walked in kind of thinking it was a little bit cooler than
I actually can empathize with this because when I worked on the White House Promise Zone initiative, I was like, I'm on a White House project. Oh my gosh, I have made it. And it was like, yeah.
It's just work. Right?
It's a lot of work.
So you asked me what was so different is you didn't really have authority to declare things, and it happened. You worked really hard. You met small businesses. You worked with the government. You did all of that. But all that good work might take months or even years for one thing to materialize, right? But I think the beauty of it was coming from corporate America, coming from large business, it gave me such an appreciation about those who keep the economy of this country going. These small businesses that every day they toil, they put in their resources, their time, they're not sure they're going to make it. They're not necessarily expected to be the Googles and the Yahoos and all these big guys, but they stay in, day out. So they're hoping that we advocate for them. They're hoping that we're the people that make sure that the government sees what they do. So for me, it was extremely rewarding doing that.
Awesome. That is fantastic. And then when your term ends, you go back into all of these other ventures. I mean, I sometimes even trying to keep track of all the things, but some of the really exciting things, all of it's exciting, but you've done some real significant work in areas of venture capital and science, technology, engineering, and math, and medical and technological innovations. Can you talk about one or two of the projects that really stand out in your mind?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's one that we're doing now. We're working on agriculture supply chain. And, you know, agriculture doesn't necessarily sound cool. But agriculture is necessary for the fundamental development of any nation. The beauty of it is that this is a project that is both US and Africa based. Okay. So this ability to create these linkages between, you know, a supply chain that starts in Africa and then ends in the US, but not a raw material supply chain the way we've always done it. This is a value add. This is where the people on the continent are doing the cultivation, they're manufacturing, they're using technology to monitor their products, they're using technology to ensure that they're getting the best kind of yields, they're getting the best kind of crops, right? They're using technology to understand the kind of landscape they're living in, they're creating jobs, and the product they're shipping here is an end product, right? So they're getting all the benefits of the supply chain, the raw materials, the intelligence, the end product, and then the user here is excited to get high quality product coming out of the continent. So it's not charity, it's completely commercial.
Yeah.
So for me, those are the things that, you know, make me happy, because many times there's this narrative that when you're working on the continent of Africa, you're giving something away. But here's a win-win. American companies making money because they're working with a commercially viable African country. So to me, that's important. Then another one is with respect to financial technology. So I was part of a group that made an investment in a company that used blockchain to really create these determinants that allow the unbanked to have a profile that allows an investor or allows a bank give them access to capital.
Wow.
Because all over the world, the unbanked is significantly higher than the banked. And so if we ignore those groups, can you imagine the resources that are not coming in, the intelligence that's not being used and all that? So to enable these people who are typically very honest, very hardworking, they'll repay, make them viable so that when they're looking for instruments of investments, instruments of capital to do their business, you can look through, you can see that they pay their phone bills, they pay their utility bills, they do all the things they're supposed to do on time. They're bankable. Right? The reason why they don't go to your banks or they don't go to traditional banks is maybe the interest rates are too high. Maybe they don't understand the things that they need are not available to them because they need smaller size loans. So when you make this easier, you use technology to make it access so that you can get a loan within X amount of hours. That's a game changer. And it was technology that enabled it. So being a part of that was just incredible, right? And honestly, something that really, really, really excited me was when the system was triggered to see defaults. Do you know that there were 0 defaults?
Wow.
So, you know, many times there's this narrative that the poor is more problematic than the rich. That's not true.
No. Actually, their credit scores are higher in general, even in this country.
Oh, wow.
The lower incomes tend to have higher credit scores than many of higher income counterparts.
Yep, that's what we saw. That's what we saw. Paying their bills, moving from, you know, economic status to economic status. Someone who was able to borrow 500 is borrowing 1,000. Someone who was borrowing 1,000 is borrowing 10,000, and they're paying it back.
Wow.
Those are game changer things. That's where technology just becomes exciting, right? So, don't get me started.
Well, believe it or not, we are close. We're almost out of time. So really quickly, I guess there's somebody out there. In fact, I've had another guest who has been in Africa and wants to go back. But there are people out there who want to do venture capital, or maybe they're young people who have not been encouraged to pursue science and math the way you were. One quick piece of advice that you can give to them, or maybe they're older people that realized they had a talent but was never encouraged when they were younger.
Yeah, one of the things I would say to them is, one is, no matter what you have, it's viable, right? So going into, and venture capital, I know we've run out of time, I would have explained that a little bit, but the concept of investment is so critical for the next generation. If you have $200, you can become an investor in a small space. It might not be VC work, but it's still investment, right? If you have $200, you can become an entrepreneur, right? So there are all these ways to look at investment from that perspective. But in terms of the person who has never been encouraged in STEM, I will say, look, we're in a world where knowledge is more accessible. The internet is amazing. Learn about STEM. Look, every other field is wonderful, but I really believe that in the generations that are coming up, STEM is going to be critical. And today, it's no longer hard to get it. It's no longer hard to become a computer engineer or a computer scientist. And also, just go out there, start picking out some information, and you'll be surprised what you can do.
Fantastic advice. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Actually, I'd really like to have you come back.
Absolutely, I'd love to do it. Maybe we can talk about some of these other topics.
Absolutely. So you've heard from our guests today, and her contact information is being displayed right now. And is there any particular way that you would like for people to contact you?
Actually, my LinkedIn is good, or my email.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried my best to be responsive, especially if you tell me where you met me. That helps
Awesome.
a lot. Yeah.
So just let them know that you saw her on What the Why. Next week, we're thrilled to air the first of 2 episodes that we're going to be taping at a remote location. Our first guest will be Jo, aka Josephine Colantonio, an award-winning executive leadership and organizational development consultant, coach, educator, and trainer who builds extraordinary leaders, teams, and champions from the inside out. And she's going to be sharing about her journey and partnership with entities such as Rowan College of South Jersey and the Fairleigh Dickinson University's Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, where she's been doing coaching and many other leadership efforts. Our following week's guest will be Maria O'Callahan Cassidy, an operations and facilities planning innovator. She's president of Women in Facility Management, or WIFM, and the treasurer of the executive committee of the Building Owners and Managers Association. And she will be sharing with us her passion for mentoring women in the typically male-dominated world of facilities management. Let's just say you do not want to miss out on what these amazing leaders have to say, or any upcoming episodes for that matter. As a reminder, What the Why airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. EDT, and Mondays at 3 p.m. EDT, which stands for Eastern Daylight Time. We're also available on demand through RVN Television and the Roku platform. So whether you're looking to make changes in your life or career, big or small, please join us again for more inspirational and informative conversations with guests like Ngozi, who wanted to make changes and overcame whatever fears or obstacles they might have had to find their core purpose and live it.